All right, so in lieu of classes, what I'm going to have you guys do is watch this video. You can follow along if you'd like, but basically I'm just going to show you some stuff here, and then after you watch it, you're just going to work during class, and I will have Zoom up, and then you can be working, and I'll just be there if you need help. But I'm not going to have, like, I'm not going to lecture to you. I'm not going to do it real time with you, because that way you can kind of go at your own pace, and I can just help you if you need it, because otherwise it's going to be hard for me to, like, stop doing stuff and then go to another person. It's not going to be as easy as doing it in person, so I think it's easier if I actually make tutorial videos that you can watch, and then I will be available to help. Some of you guys, that way you can fly right through it, and then some of the other ones that need more help, I can help you. So anyway, I'm just going to lecture a little bit here, and then you guys can just get to work, all right? So, when we've been working inside of Maya, there's basically a couple of things that affect the way that you view the model, right? So, let's just use this guy here. Okay. So one is the model itself, right? Like the points and stuff that you create this shell, this polygonal shell, and you can see it, okay? There's two other things that also affect what you see, okay? Because otherwise, you would only see this. So the two other things are basically the light that hits the surface, okay? In this case, I am the light. That's why everything facing towards me is lit. But we could create a light. Let's just do a directional light and move this up here. And we'll go like this, okay? Right? So the light obviously also affects it. And when the light interacts with the surface, that's what you're actually seeing. So when you actually look at anything, this is like real life, what you're seeing is the light bouncing off of something, okay? And so on that object itself, there's the actual form that the object is, but also what it's made out of, which is the material. And basically the material describes the microscopic texture, if you will, of the object that you're looking at, okay? So inside of here, that's how we describe it, right? So I have a sphere here, but you can see it looks like it has these like bumpy checkers, right? That's because the material itself, I added that ability. So you can see the red ones are shiny, right? And the green ones are not. And that's by using a texture, an image that I put onto the material, all right? Now there's a bunch of different kinds of material types inside of Maya. The three main ones are anisotropic, blend, and Lambert. So by default, when we've been working on stuff, if we're in here, you can get to the Hypershade by clicking on this blue ball here, or you can go to Windows, Rendering Editors, Hypershade. Okay? But by default, I already did this video once and my thing crashed on me, which is awesome. By default, everything is Lambert. So anytime I make anything, they all have Lambert. So if I make, let's say, a sphere and I put it over here, they're both Lambert, right? Just like if I had a room full of desks, right? All the desks, let's say, are made out of wood. I wouldn't have to make a wood material for each one of the desks. They're all sharing that same material. So these all share the same material. So you can see if I change this, it will change all the ones that it's attached to, okay? So there's Lambert and blend and anisotropic are probably the main ones that you would run into, okay? So Lambert is for basically things that are matte, that do not have any shininess to it, that has no specular highlight. So think of like clothes or a rug or a chalkboard or anything that's just not shiny. That's what Lambert is appropriate for. Blend is for things that are shiny. So you could think like a plastic bottle or a cue ball or glasses, whatever. All the things that are shiny that have a specular highlight, meaning this thing here, are considered, you would want to use blend. And then the last one here, this is anisotropic. And so basically anisotropic is meant to represent things that have like microscopic grooves in them. So if you think of like brushed metal, like you know how like you see some doorknobs, they like if you look at the light on it, you can see there's a band instead of a circular specular highlight. Like long shiny hair, right? You will see, because hair is obviously really little tiny strands, but when they're clumped together, you will see, and it makes an anisotropic looking highlight. Okay, so I almost never use this one, quite honestly. I pretty much just always use this on everything, because even if you don't want it to be shiny, you can take the specular color, turn it all the way off, and it's the same as a Lambert. Okay, but you will see when I do Lambert, I don't have the option. I have less options, so it's better to just go ahead and use a blend, because that way, if I want to use it, it's there. Okay. But there are a lot of other materials as well. So for instance, there's like this ocean shader. So if I slap this on here, okay, so I just middle mouse button, click and drag it over. You can also apply materials by, like, let's say I want to apply it to both of these. I can right click on this and hold and assign materials to selections. You could also right click on something and assign an existing material, let's say blend 4. Okay. Different ways to do it. But this one has some different properties. For one, it's animated. So you can see, that's kind of cool, right? Because it's meant to represent water. But on top of that, if you actually go to render it, you can see it actually affects the shape as well. So it's actually got like a, what we call a displacement map also attached to it. So it's a really neat looking thing. You can actually, if you change the colors of it and stuff and put it on like a teardrop shape, you can make like a candle. You know, make it like red and yellow and stuff, and then you can. It's an easy way of making kind of a candle, because it comes with the animation, everything already in there, and it kind of looks similar, and it's volumetric. Okay, so anyways, there's a bunch of different materials. I'm gonna slap blend back on this. We'll get rid of this guy. Okay, and you can play around with them. So you probably just click on surface, and you can see a bunch here. Pretty much just use this one though. You can see most of the other ones, they're for specific things, and they have specific purposes, but when you get into rendering later on and stuff, they might teach you some of the other ones, but you're going to find that 95% of the time you just always use whatever the basic material is for that renderer, right? So like I'm looking at Maya ones. There's also Arnold ones, and you see there's, where is it? It's AI, where are you? Not standard. Well, it doesn't matter, but there's one that you use that's basically used for everything in there, but we're just going to do Maya ones, and we're just going to do blend. Okay, so you just click on them to make them, and then you would want to rename it. So let's call this one Taurus _MAT so that it has a material. All right, great. Now, I can look at the material here, and I can change things. I can also do it this way. I'm just going to select it and go to the attribute editor. And there's Taurus material. All the things that are currently attached to it, the big things, are right there. Okay. Okay, so now there's a bunch of different material attributes, and I'm just going to go through those real quick. You can also just look at that. But color's kind of obvious. I can click on this and make it like red, and make sure I have texturing on. And turn lights off. Does this have Taurus material on it? Assign existing material, Taurus material. Alright. Let's try. So I'm going to right click. Come on, right click. Assign existing material, Taurus material. Alright. I don't know why that one wasn't working, but it'll work on this guy. Okay. So you can change the color here, right? Transparency makes it see-through. So it's not really previewing it properly. I don't know why. If I hit render, though, it should show up as... Well, you can't really tell. Hang on a second. Let's... Oh, that's weird. Okay. Well, now it's... You can see it's transparent. I don't know why it was... Sometimes what happens in Maya is that the video card gives up and it doesn't refresh properly. So anyways, there's transparency. I'll put that button back down. Ambient color basically will brighten it. Incandescence adds like white to it. So think of incandescent like an incandescent light bulb. Bump mapping can add bumpiness to it. So like, look, see, it's not updating the transparency. So I can go like this, and then let's just add, let's say, a fractal. Okay, and then you can see, oh, look at it's got this bumpiness to it, right? That's kind of gross looking. So that's what bump mapping does. Diffuse will add, let me break that real quick, break connection. Diffuse basically is, there's a couple things that we would look at when we see this. So this is the specular highlight. That is a reflection. Let me turn, oh, that is on. Okay. That is a reflection of the light hitting this. And if it's a smooth surface, the light will hit it. And instead of the light bands hitting your eye and being diverted, like going in different directions, it's coming here and directly hitting you. So more or less, when you see a specular highlight, it's a reflection of the light. So, but the diffuse is the light hitting the surface, but it's not coming off in a direct line. It's being diffused. It kind of hits it and comes off in different directions. So this is the diffuse part. So the more that you up this diffuse, the brighter it will, the more rich the color will be. Okay, so usually 0.8 is fine, but if you need to like brighten up a little bit, try this first. Need to brighten up more, then you can try ambient color, and then lastly the incandescence. Translucence is kind of like transparency. I hope you know what translucence is, but basically it lets the light come through, but you can't see through it. So like for instance, let's say someone's taking a shower and they have a shower curtain. You will be able to see the silhouette of that person through the shower curtain, but you can't see the person themselves, right? Like that's like translucence kind of, right? Or like let's say you have a leaf, you can put your finger on it, like over the leaf and hold it up to the sun. You'll be able to see the silhouette of your finger, but not your actual finger through the leaf. That kind of a thing. Okay, so I never really mess around with this. So there's like depth and focus, so how far light can penetrate through. Focus is how sharp the silhouette is, like is it blurry? You can like look up numbers, I think, and stuff on this to adjust it, but you probably don't need that. Eccentricity, so this is all the stuff with the specular highlighting. If I pull this to the left, it's going to make that highlight tighter, and if I go this way, it's going to make it broader, right? So if you want to make it shinier, if you will, like a wet surface or something, you pull it to the left. Specular roll-off will just, basically spreads the highlight there. Specular color is the brightness of the highlight. You can even actually click on that and change the color. And reflectivity is, well, reflectivity like you would expect. Okay, so there's nothing really all that special there either. All right, so generally just pull this all the way down. And if I don't want to be shiny, I would just take specular color, and now it's basically like a Lambert. All right, yay! All right, so that's that. The next thing I want to talk about is basically applying procedural textures. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to actually make something real quick. So we're just gonna all right, so I'm just gonna make like a sofa looking thing here. So cut and cut and cut and boom. All right, Control E, extrude up. So unselect these two, G, extrude up. Okay. Now, let's bring our ball back here. Okay, and let's probably smooth it. All right, so what you can do is you can have procedural textures, and basically, let me assign existing material. Basically, what that will do is through math, it will generate an image that basically lays over top of it. So, for instance, let's do Fractal, because that's pretty useful. All right. So what it's actually doing is, if I go to UV editor, it's just creating this pattern, okay, through math, and it's just generating a 2D image and laying it over top of it, okay. Now what's cool about it is if I actually go to, let me just show you. So you can see color. See how now instead of the checkers there's this arrow? That means that there's something attached to it, and then you can adjust all these different things to how you want it to look. If you need to change the color of it for this one, you can go like here and be like, I want it to be red, and I want this color to be blue, and then yay, right? So, but that's the procedural texture. So you can look at those. There's a bunch of different options. Now that is actually, to be more specific, a 2D procedural texture. So, which is what I was showing you. So if I assign that material to this, you're going to see that you do have it on you, right? Oh, no, I didn't do it. Okay, I thought I did. Assign existing material, Taurus. There we go. It doesn't look so good. It looks fine on the bottom, but not up here. And the reason for that is that, again, if we were to look at this in the UV editor, you're going to see that it has what the original box had, but then we extrude all these pieces. So just like when we did our other model, we had to unfold it and what have you for the character model. You need to do the same thing if you want to use one of these. Now, what I would suggest is just doing UV and just do automatic. That'll automatically lay out all the areas. right? Now you're still going to end up with seams. You can kind of see them, but you know, it's better than having to go through and do that constantly. Okay, let me undo that because I want to show you something. Okay, so you can see this looks terrible. Now what you can also do is this. We could, instead of using, so if I right-click, right connection, instead of using 2D one, there's also, these are the two procedural textures, there's also 3D ones. So here I can use, let's say, solid fractal. And you're going to see it looks like this. And it made this little weird thing here. So what it does is that basically, imagine it's a big bucket and it just has this pattern in it, and it's a 3D pattern. Looks like the moon, right? It's kind of cool. But this is our visual representation of the bucket. So you can see if I slide this, you can see the texture is actually sliding with it. Same thing over here. It's kind of neat looking, right? And if you scale it, it will change it, right? So if you want it to be more, or if you want it to be vaguer, you can do that. You can rotate it. Okay, so it's got all the same things. That also means, though, if I move this object, that the pattern's also going to change. Okay, so you have to move them together when you go to do stuff. But just be aware that that's what that is. You can't delete that. But it doesn't need UVs, which is kind of a nice, you don't have to have like a good UVs in order for this to work. So those are the 3D procedural ones, and you can take a look at those too, try a bunch of them out. Honestly, for the most part, they're not that great, but you could potentially use them if you want. It's just like a nice pre-built thing. All right. Now, let's say none of that works for us, and more than likely, you probably have, let's say, a plane like this, and you want to throw grass on it, right? So what I would do is I'm going to right click, I'm going to assign a new material, and I'll just go ahead and choose blend. Okay, and I'll just call it grass _ MAT. Okay. And what I would suggest is going through and just making materials and just, you know, applying them to it. That's weird. Okay, well, we'll go like this. And just applying like colors initially, all right? But let's say I want to put grass on this. The best way to do it is to go to, let's say, Google and just do grass texture. And go to images, and then you'll find a bunch of grass textures. But if you grab just any grass texture, what you're going to end up doing is it's not going to look good. You're going to want to do seamless and choose one of these. Okay, so I'm just going to, I already grabbed one earlier, so just imagine I like grabbed this one. And then all you're going to do is you click on this, go to File this time, the little folder. Make sure you save it into your source images folder. And let me see which one is it. This one. Open. And let's put texturing on. Okay, and then boom, there it is. Now you might be like, that doesn't look good. It's too big, right? All you have to do is go to UV editor, and then because it's just this image over the entire thing. So if you go like this, if I go to UVs, right click, go to UV, click and drag over the whole thing, R for scale. If I scale this bigger, okay, what happens is that every one of these squares is just a repeat of the texture again. So if I scale that bigger, you can see, voila, there it is. Looks pretty good. All right. And I can actually, and I would highly suggest doing this as well. On the bump mapping, apply the same texture so that it will actually make it a little bit bumpy too. So, like watch, if I zero this out, see it looks like that, but if I go to 1, it gives a little bit of depth. And it's even more obvious if you like rotate the light around. You can kind of see the thing there. Okay, anyway, so that's also useful. All right, so that works out fine. So if you can find seamless textures, use those. Don't use them, it's up to you. But let's say you got a texture, let's say you grab grass, and it's not seamless, okay? So let's say, I'm just going to save this real quick. Yeah, save it. Okay. So let's say I got this texture, and I'm like, I really like this grass specifically. So I can go here, go like the, you know, make sure you put in your source images folder, and I can grab it. But what you're going to notice is, oh no, you see the, Let me get rid of the bump mapping on this. I'm just gonna right click, and break connection. Okay. You can see the seams, right? Obviously you can see the pattern too. So to fix that, you can use Photoshop. So in Photoshop, all you're gonna do is you take this and you're gonna go to Filter, Other, Offset, and then what you want to do is offset it like, let me zero this out so you can see, because I did this earlier. Okay, it looks like this. All you gotta do is you're just gonna offset it, and what it does is it takes what's over here and brings it across. So you see how I'm actually just kind of pulling it to the middle? And then I can do it vertically as well. Okay. So what ends up happening is that this area and this area are perfectly matched, because this is actually just that, and this is just this. And we actually put the edge, the seam, in the middle. And then you can use any one of your healing brushes and try to fix it. I'm just going to go ahead and use this patch tool here. I like to use the patch just because that way I can grab like different sections and make it, you know, a little less obvious. Although I'm doing a really bad job because I'm just trying to do it quick. Right. And okay, I thought I just did that. All right. And all right, so now it isn't going to work perfectly. You can see it, I got rid of the seams, but it's still darker up here and lighter down there. So you'd have to do other things where, like, you know, maybe use dodge or something to try and kind of, I don't know. Anyway, so I'll just save that again. And then in Maya, I'm just going to go ahead. So you notice there's a little arrow. That means there's something connected to it. When you click on it, it shows what's connected. I'm going to reload it. And now you can see there's going to be a repeat, but I got rid of the actual seams. There's no seams anymore. Okay? So that's how you'd make your own seamless texture. Yeah. So what I want, good. So let's go back here. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so I think I covered, good. So what I want you to do now is continue working. I want you to finish up your background model, like, so add any extra details, anything extra that you want to put in there. And then when you're happy with it, go ahead and apply materials and just basic texturing. I'm not expecting you to go through and like UV everything. Just, you know, try to throw images though, so it's not just solid colors, because that doesn't look as good. So if you can just throw in like, you know, some materials here and there, or maybe you want to put like a poster, so just make like a, you know, like if I was going to put a poster or something, I'll just make a single plane, right, and then just apply a picture to it, you know, like just, and then that would be fine, like a special material just for that kind of a thing. But I want you to basically go through and finish the model, and then do the texturing. And then next week, what we'll do is kind of the same thing again. I'm going to make a video tutorial, and then you are going to work during class. Okay, so I'm going to stay on Zoom for the rest of class, and then I just want you guys to, like during normal class time, so what is that, Wednesdays at 10, I'll be on Zoom, and then if you have questions, I'll help you. But other than that, it's just going to be you guys working. I'm not really going to lecture during it. So that should be it. So, I mean, if you have any issues, just go ahead and, you know, email me or whatever.